What's going on, guys? Blue Thunder here, back with another Call to Battle video. Today's video we're going to be going over and discussing the first archetype that I've made for the game, called the Experiments. Basically what the Experiments are is they are a set of creatures that aren't found naturally, but instead they were created in a lab through different forms of matter and material, and basically they just became destructive creatures that now roam wild. So there are 10 experiments, one for each type in the game, and then there is one support card that goes along with the archetype. So if we flip them over here, we can see the first experiment called Experiment 113, and these cards are in numerical order. And it is the magic experiment, and you're going to be seeing some similarities throughout these as you would in any archetype. And the first being its special ability. All of these cards have the same special ability, which is called Experiment. This creature can be combined with another creature by using the card Mutation. And then all of them are also going to have an attack. So this card has Psyshock. This attack does 2 damage. Choose one card from your opponent's hand and look at it. So also, they're all commons, they all have an attack, the same special ability. What differs is the attack damage and the effects of it, and also their health and their type. They all have the same summoning cost or requirement of 2. Sometimes you'll hear me refer to it as just 2 stars, or just like, that's basically how I just describe their level. So that is the magic card, and I'll probably come back to some of these afterward. Next we have the Ice Experiment, Experiment 113. Again, we have the ability, and its attack is double Ice Shard. Roll the die twice. This attack does, it's a typo, does 2 damage times the number of evens and 1 damage times the number of odds. So you're either going to be doing 2, 3, or 4 damage, which is better than 2 damage, but then again, it's just a different effect. You don't get to look at your opponent's hand. It has 9 health, everything else is the same. So we have the Fire Experiment now. Has 8 health, and its attack is Combustion. This attack does 4 damage. Experiment 212 receives 1 damage. So you are doing significantly higher damage than the other 2 that we've seen so far, but you're also damaging yourself in the process, and he also has the lowest health out of what we've seen so far. So that's just something, if you want to have more damage and less health, that's just a trade-off you'll have to think about. The Nature Experiment, he's a little bit tankier, he has 12 health, and then Mud Cannon is a little bit more passive. It only does 1 damage, but then your opponent must roll the die, and if even, they cannot attack their next turn. So that's to just kind of slow them down, kind of put a tank out there, do a little bit less damage, but keep him out there for longer. Next we have probably just the hardest hitter. He does the same amount of damage as with Plasma Blast as the Fire Experiment. However, he doesn't damage himself. And this is probably one of my favorite artworks, just because it's like, it is a normal mech creature, and it has like a brain inside and just like slime, and it just looks pretty cool. It also has the lowest health out of all the experiments, so again, there's the trade-off with your damage to your health. The Water Experiment, he has 11 health, and his attack reads Whirlpool. This attack does 2 damage. Shuffle your opponent's deck. So then again, it's just some more diversity as to what effects your attack has. We have the Storm Experiment, which is has Shock Bomb, which just does a basic 3 damage, 9 health, so this is just one of the more basic cards. Doesn't really have any trade-offs really. This is the Dark Experiment, Experiment 412. This card was actually inspired by Chaos Galaxy's Phantom Matter, as you can see with the colors, but then again I also threw in some bones and like a skull right there. And his attack is Soul Rip. This attack does 2 damage. Heal 2 damage from Experiment 412. So you're doing 2 damage, which is pretty good, but then again you're able to heal yourself back up to your health. This is also an artwork that I really liked. It turned out pretty well. This is experiment 413. It is the light type experiment. And then again, it just has a basic 3 damage, but it turned out really good with like it just looking like a sun here. I don't know. I like it. So next we have experiment 413, and this is the last experiment for the creatures, and it has Toxin Spit. This attack does 1 damage. The defending creature receives 2 damage during your opponent's next turn. So it ultimately is doing 3 damage, it's just doing it through different damage phases, and with other cards such as traps and stuff, this might be better, such as a card like that might deal the same damage back to you when you attack them. You'd only maybe get 1 damage dealt to you, but then you're still doing that extra damage during your next turn. So something like that could be where this card is more useful. And the support card for this archetype is called Mutation. So you can see here we have the water experiment and the fire experiment, and they're like combining together. And so this card reads, this card can only be played if your creature in play has the Experiment special ability, which all these cards do. And then choose 1 creature from your hand with the Experiment special ability and combine its type, HP, and attack effects with the type, HP, and attack effects of your creature in play. So what this card allows you to do, it is a rare. I figured if all these are going to be commons, then the combiner probably needs to be a rare, just because of what you're able to do with these cards, because there's just crazy amounts of possibilities that you can come up with. So for one example, if you want to make just a hard hitter that is going to totally cut through people when you're at a 2 summoning requirement, because if you're at a 2 summoning requirement, if you have 2 creatures in your graveyard, your opponent is probably going to have 1, 2, or 3. They're not going to be way above you. So if you were to combine these 2 experiments, what you're going to get 1 creature that has the dual typing of normal mech and fire. You're going to get 15 health, which for a 2 summon requirement is about average, maybe a little bit less, depending on how high their attack is. But then what really is good about this combination is your attack. Your attack is going to be doing 8 damage because you're going to combine Plasma Blast and Combustion. And 8 damage for a 2 summon requirement is insane, because usually that's 8 damage is the 4 and the 5 summon requirements. So you would be doing 8 damage, but as the card read, you have to combine all attack effects. So your experiment would also be taking the 1 damage from his 15 health. So that is where these cards would come into play. And you can also combine more tanky cards. For example, experiment 214, which is the nature. And then I think the other card with high health is the water experiment. I think this is the tankiest card you can make. It would have 23 HP, and its attack would still do 3 damage, which isn't bad for a 2 summon requirement. And also, your opponent might not be able to attack next turn, and you also shuffle your opponent's deck. So there's just all these different combinations, you know, like with the magic, you can look at a card from their hand. With this card, you can do 4 damage, but you get more health than you would with the normal experiment. Another really good combination is the dark experiment and the fire experiment, because you can combine these 2 together. They're going to have 16 health, and their attack is going to do 6 damage, which is honestly really good. And then he would take 1 damage upon attacking, but then you look at his attack effects and it says heal 2 damage. So every time you attack with this creature combination, you're going to be doing 6 damage and healing yourself once. So this is a really good combination, and I'm actually thinking about making a dark fire type deck and using these 2 in it, and then also using Shade of Flame because it also has the dual typing of dark and fire. So that would be really good. But yeah, with this mutation card, it just basically allows you to create a bunch of different combinations with these cards. Who knows, I might add more in the future that are just crazy and can just make the playstyle even more diverse. So I hope you enjoyed the experiment archetype. That's all I have for today. One thing I did want to know is, I don't know if anybody noticed, but the cards from the Game Crafter have gotten like a little bit darker and a little bit more saturated. And for the common typing, it does make it, the blue at the bottom, a little bit harder to see. As you can see here, it's just a little bit different shade and like at the top. But yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to point that out. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you don't mind, like, comment, subscribe. You do you do whatever. I don't care. I'm here for you guys. So I will see you guys next time.